Thanks everybody. My name's Mark Williams. I'm the current incident controller for the current caravan bushfire emergency within the Shoalhaven area. I've seen some of you here before at an earlier meeting, and it's pleasing. What I then did was span out in a number of figures across the east of the Princess Highway and impact on the villages out to the coast, namely anywhere between Little Forest Road in the south and through to and including Wandanian. In the north-eastern corner of the fire, we also had the fire outbreak push out through our containment lines in and around the Narrow Hill area. However, earlier containment options did limit the radius spread in that area. We don't have any significant property threat in the Narrow Hill area, but in West Narrow we do have a couple of structures that have been destroyed around the stringy boat. Kajola Park, unfortunately, as I said, caught the very brunt of that fire as it moved through. One of those fingers. Reports from our aviation assets at the time and post the event with our fire crews that are in and around that area said that the combination of the strong, dry northwesterly wind spanning the flames met with a northeasterly wind over that area, in which caused a significant downforce effect and rotating wind pattern over the fire ground. That certainly exacerbated the fire weather conditions that they were experiencing at the time and added to the level of destruction in that area. We're also acutely aware, and our condolences are all out to all the families and loved ones of not only the destroyed property, but also especially to those who have lost loved ones. Currently, we are looking down the barrel at another significant weather pattern forming. At the moment, we are what we call in a benign holding pattern. We're still experiencing temperatures in close to about 30 degrees, humidities of 50% or lower. And as I said before, with the dry fuel that we've got out in that area, the fires are still significantly burning in the landscape. It is a very scattered fire ground at the moment. There is a lot of fire on. And what we have got is a mammoth event in front of us where we have these fingers of fire that have burned out. There is still a large proportion of unburned bushland in and around the general fire path. And as a result, with the extreme conditions that are expected this Saturday, it is going to give us a lot of grief in relation to where that fire is going to run. On Saturday, we're going to be expecting 42 plus degrees. Humidities are very, very low. And wind strengths are fairly high from the northwest for most of the day. Later in the day we will expect again to see a southerly change, and again from previous experience with this particular fire, that southerly will come through and cause any northerly arm of the fire, or flank of the fire as we call it, to turn into the head of the fire and push any fire in a general northerly direction, which is of real concern. Currently crews are busily working on the closure of the Princess Highway. Yesterday we managed to get the Princess Highway open late last night for a short period of time before our falling power line again. That only lasted for an hour or so before we managed to reopen it, and it remained open for most of the night and early morning period today. Unfortunately, those fingers of fire, as I mentioned, were both sides of the fire, or both sides of the highway, and during the day today, that fire has moved up and crossed the Princes Highway again, forcing its closure again this afternoon. Crews are actively engaged along there, as I just mentioned, conducting emergency backburning operations to get that portion of the highway reopened as soon as possible. Most of you will also be aware that we have upped our request to the community, especially those of the tourists in the area, to leave the area. We have previously requested for a number of weeks for people to seriously consider their options about not coming down over this period of time whilst there is so much fire on the landscape. It has now been up to the fact of please leave. With the weather that we are now expecting on Saturday, we are not in a safe situation to hold extra people within the community that do not require to be here. You will have seen possibly that has issued for areas from maintenance for people to leave the tourists in those areas. This morning locally and this afternoon as a statewide media release going out asking for people from the Ulladulla community, including Nowra, any tourists in the area, to vacate the area well before Saturday. That makes it it sounds easy to do, but it's very hard to do when the local roads are often closed. During the day today, we've had police escorts in several of the local communities where have stranded people, having police escorts escorting 20 to 30 people at a time out of the area in an effort to get them back to their home location or to another safer location. At the moment, we've got the highway closed. We will get that open as soon as practically possible, but because we're also receiving the flow-on effect from people around the Bay Area trying to make their way north through the We've gone so far even to having the, once the highway is open, is having the phases of the traffic lights throughout the Nowra township itself, phased to allow traffic to flow freely as possible through the area. We're pulling out all stops to try and get the local services back in order, and that includes power restoration, of which we've just received this morning, power back into the area, and we're on telecommunications assets going back in as soon as possible. So what it means for here is if you're in the area and whilst the roads are open, we're asking you to leave. Simple as that, as blunt as that. I'm sorry to say we are acutely aware of how lovely this area usually is. We're all acutely aware of how much tourism brings to the area, and it is our primary income and attraction for the area. But it is not a safe place to be, and unfortunately we can't provide the level of protection we would like to those people if they remain in the community. What we are also asking for is anybody who is not prepared and do not have their property prepared to a state where they are willing to stay and defend, and if they are told to shelter in place, also leave. And that means now. Any time from this point onwards in the lead up to Saturday is the time for you, if you are not going to stay in this location, to enact your bushfire plan, of which I all know you have that in place now because we've been asking it severely for the last month and a half. Please enact that plan. If your intention is not to leave, not to stay and defend your house, now is the time to enact that plan and move to a safer location. We have so much fire on the landscape on Saturday. If the winds and the expected weather comes through as it is very likely that fire can and will come through this particular area and can consume right out to the coastline as we saw on New Year's Eve. Receiving assistance we have through the last month, and we will continue to receive assistance with another 20 firefighters coming in this afternoon from the Northern Territory. We also have additional assistance and specialty personnel on top of the ones we already have coming in from Canada and the United States to assist. We also have Tasmanians coming up tomorrow, also coming to assist us. We do have a huge amount of people out there. At any one time we could have up to 500 firefighters out there, but with the population base that we have and the area of fire that we have on the landscape, it is impossible for us to provide a fire appliance for every structure in the area. So again, imploring on everybody to have those bushfire plans in place, to adhere to the warnings, to enact that plan now, and if and when you are deciding to leave, sooner rather than later. That is it as far as the briefing is concerned. As I said, the fire still continues to grow generally around the area. The northern part of the fire, we do have the fire still encroaching towards the Shoalhaven. At this point in time, it remains to the south of the Shoalhaven River. We did have one excursion or a spot over under the trying conditions, and that was jumped on very quickly by crews. We are continually monitoring that situation, and for those of you north of the river that may be here today or watching online, we will be advising if and when that containment line does break. And I say if and when. That containment line is a river. It in some parts is very narrow and under a strong southerly condition, as we will expect to see on Saturday afternoon. It does have the very high potential of crossing that area. So for people to the north of the river, please stay vigilant also. You're not out of the woods yet. Please make sure you've got your plans in place and be ready to enact on those should you require it. Ladies and gentlemen, Inspector Ray Steins is with me. I've been saying his name for the last month and I just haven't mentioned blank, I'm sorry. Inspector Ray Steins is with me. He's the local emergency operations controller. He's just asked me to remind everybody as well, just as a point of interest, because we often do get asked with it. It is a topic in the news at the moment about our military assistance. I can assure everybody that the military is assisting us to no end. As mentioned in previous briefings, HMAS Albatross and the military in general opening their base up. We have accommodation for our firefighting crews from outside the area staying on base, providing welfare support in the form of feeding, as well as using their base itself for the landing of our aircraft and reloading on their aircraft, as well as refueling. In coming days, that amount of assistance will continue to rise. We do have additional assistance coming in for stuff like crew transport and logistical movements around. But just to reassure everybody, there is a lot of assistance that's already been provided to us from outside agencies. Within our local emergency management team, we have representatives from all agencies. We have RMS, health, welfare, council, you name it, every agency, possible agency, local land services are all forming part of that committee and are right next door to the incident management team, literally across the hallway, and we are able to dial them in and use them as soon as possible. Some of the other things that have happened with people that have been stranded by this event in those localities out in the coastline is being able to get them back to normality. As I said, moving them back out into the traffic once we get those road opens and back out to the community is our utmost priority. But in the meantime, we've got them out in those communities and we're trying to provide them with as much good nature and well-being and assistance as we can. It is a stressful time. We understand that, and it's even more stressful when telecommunications systems go down. That does happen and has happened in this event. What we've seen in Batemans Bay and further points south is no mobile phone service, no power. So again, as part of your plans, please make sure you've got alternatives to actually rely on, such as transistor radios, your vehicle radios, and charging points within your car to keep your phones charged. Also rely on each other and look after each other. One of the most concerning things we see is that people are getting upset, and it's understandable why they're upset because it is a tragic event that we're dealing through, but we're approaching now 36 hours and people are unprepared within some of these centres to be able to look after themselves and look after each other. We're asking everybody to be compassionate with each other, be patient with each other, understand that the emergency services are doing everything possible to get us back to normality and get the community back to normality as soon as we possibly can. All of our local brigades are also enacted, as you can also imagine. Part of the questions that we often get asked is what's going to happen with the local brigades, because they're often out and about helping other areas. One of the first things we do as a management team is ensure the local brigade is back within their local community, able to help their local community if and when the fire is threatening to impact that area. So all of our local brigades, the 36 of them that we have within the district, have been fully engaged. Their outstanding work is just phenomenal. They keep coming day after day after day. Many hours have been put in across the line, and I'm sure you'll all join me in thanking them for the amount of work that they've done so far on the Basin. And that's all it takes for a volunteer to come back and do it again tomorrow. Your appreciation. I know, and the last thing I will say before I open up to a few questions, is that there is a lot of social media out there. We understand, we try and control that. The Fires Near Me app is the most reliable resource that we have, as well as the RFS Facebook pages managed by the district. Please limit your level of attention that you give to individual comments on Facebook or whatever it happens to be, whatever social media stream about the fires, expected impact into an area, what is going on around the area, because there is a lot of false information out there. And also, please bear in mind that the RFS doesn't actively engage in requests for donations. As an incident management team, it's my responsibility to ensure that our brigades have everything they need to combat the fire. We are trying to stay on top of these things. We will try and tell the truth where possible to correct any false statements that are out there. But as you can imagine, with social media, it is often hard to do. So please ensure you're relying on the appropriate level of social media. Check with each other and bear in mind that there is a lot of false information going around there. So I'll open it up to a few questions. If you have specific things that you wish to ask in relation to your own area, please avail yourself to stay back after the meeting. The team and I will stay back and answer any questions we possibly can. Yep. And just before I open it up, I'll just ask the local chaplain.
Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, my name's Owen Davies. I'm a local Anglican semi-retired pastor. There are several of us across the state who work out of evacuation centres with a special credential under the Emergency Management Act, a long way below RFS, SES and so on, who have the training and experience to support you. We have incredibly resilient communities. You know the strength and the goodwill and the way we network with each other and find that support when the going gets tough. It brings out the best in all of us. Thank you for being here. My concern is about the people who aren't here. So if you know somebody who needs some support, not necessarily spiritual, but in this kind of season, people often connect with their spiritual roots and find sustenance and nourishment there. But if you just need a listening ear, a caring ear, chaplains are available at evacuation centres and to visit people and support people beyond. Connect with those supports, look out for those signs. Those people who come into an emergency already with wobbles in their lives, with shaky foundations, they especially will need the support. So look out for one another, keep up the great work, and thank you Mark and Ray for all that you're doing.
If anyone would like to ask questions of Mark, I'll pass it on further down. I'm sure Mark will allow voice, so he should be able to reply.
Thanks very much. If we decide to go from Vincentia, say in the morning, are we going to be able to reach Nara in safety or stuck in long lines of traffic?
So obviously traffic is an issue, and that's why today we've had police escorts in those areas whilst the highway has been open to escort people through in those groups. So I'm not going to lie to you, obviously our area suffers from traffic around at this time of year anyway. There are still a number of tourists around the area. So your best advice, as I said, is to plan your route to ensure you've got things such as enough fuel to get out of the area to get to where you need to go, and to be patient and work through the traffic the best you can.
I'm at Kimber Road, Pomerong, which is between Tomalong Village and Basin Hutchison. What's the chance of a fire reaching Hutchison? I was planning to stay with them, obviously experienced it. So I just want to know your risk factor of that area, which is it's in the middle of the green area, but I don't know the way the wind's blowing, so I can assume.
Okay, without knowing that particular area, I will take that issue offline straight after the meeting and we'll address yours in specifics. However, in general nature, please be aware that it's not just the individual fire fronts that we are dealing with and that you should expect to have to deal with. Under the conditions like we had on New Year's Eve and as we can expect again, spot fires are a major threat, as well as new ignitions. But spot fires can land anywhere under those conditions between 4 and 12 kilometres in front of the actual fire front. Those spot fires can take hold very quickly, and those spot fires then themselves generate not only their own fire ground, but they can then spot outside that themselves. And that's what we saw on New Year's Eve and a couple of other times during this bushfire emergency, and on conditions such as we're going to experience on Saturday are highly likely again. So again, please don't rely on the fact that the current map may show that a fire is many kilometres away from you. As we saw on New Year's Eve, the fire will make long runs. The previous time before, under the southerly conditions, we saw the fire move over 15 kilometres in that afternoon under the southerly condition. So that's giving you the type of distances that a fire can move very quickly. So please, individual circumstances, if you're anywhere near an again, heightened level of vigilance is required.
Good evening, Mark. I'd rather not be talking to you at this particular time, but in case people are trying to access cash, we have one bank and another ATM in Sanctuary Point. That bank, unfortunately, is closed for the moment because we simply can't get the staff through. There is an ATM on that bank. We don't know how long before the cash runs out. There is another ATM just down the road from that. Once again, I can't answer for that. But if people are looking for cash, there are ATMs in the marketplace at Vincentia. Not everybody has credit cards. So just a piece of information. Thanks.
Yeah, very good point there. And again, that was one of the experiences in and around the Batemans Bay area where people didn't have cash on them. Myself, like many, don't carry cash anymore. It's usually on the card. With things like the power going down, the first thing that goes out is the ability for FPOS and the likes of that. So having some cash on hand, having your ID on hand, having your passports available, all those sort of things. If you're planning on going, take those items with you.
I just wanted to ask about the size of the fire itself, being the Currawong fire, and the fact that it is so large. One of the things that I found difficult with it is whenever there's an act and watch that's put in there, it might actually be more pertinent to the people in the south than it is to the people in the north, or, you know, to the east or the west. And I was wondering whether it would be better if the Currawong fire was divided into 3 regions, so that you can express, you know, emergency in one particular area rather than another, so people are more alert. Because when I've gone to the page and read through it, it doesn't actually affect me. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I certainly do, and as part of that we've realised that and recognised that. Most of you understand that the southern portion of the Currawong fire, which is south of the Kings Highway, is now known as the Clyde Mountain Fire, and that's being dealt with out of a separate incident management team out of Maruya in conjunction with the other fires that they have in that area. One of the reasons for that is because of that reporting structure. It allows that incident management team to send out specific information for areas within that local government area. Similarly, we've also done the same out west. We've got the Palorang area looking after what they are calling the Charlie's Forest Fire, also which derived out of the Currawong fire for that request itself or that particular issue. What I do suggest is anybody pays attention to any time that watch and that goes up or emergency alert. It'll take 2 seconds to look into that up. It'll take 2 seconds to realise what section is actually under alert because we type that in at the particular time. And any emergency alerts that go out will be specifically addressed to the localities that they are intended for. We can't break it down any further than that. It is a practical impossibility to be able to keep dividing things up, and in fact it will create more confusion. So I'll take the point on board, but we have addressed that.
Good afternoon, my name's Michael, I'm from Century Point. One quick question is, the obvious factor is this is our evacuation centre. We've got last known about 7,000 people in Century Point itself. It's not going to take 7,000 cars and 7,000 people here. I'm staying to defend. We live on the back of the water, direct waterfront. Are we safe if we get into the middle of that water? No one's ever safe, I understand that, but is that an alternative or no alternative to get out as far as we can in that water off the foreshore? We have kayaks and canoes, life jackets and water bottles ready at the back. Is that an alternative or not?
Okay, so in general terms, urban areas, more urban you go into, the safer you will be. Pretty much so, going into a city area, the Stocklands in Nowra, the likes of that, you're going to be in more urbanised area, further away from that interface. The further you go, the safer you will be. There is no guarantee that I can give that any particular facility or structure is safe. Embers can land many kilometres away and catch buildings alight, structures alight just from the combustible material that may be within their guttering systems or around the premises. However, afford yourself the best option that you can. Prepare your own properties if you're choosing to stay there. Short grass, remove the fuels around your houses, unclog your gutters, plug your gutters up, fill them with water. All of those things are added benefit to you for the protection of your now, but these are the times where you need to assess what you're going to do. You're going to put that in place.
I'm Toby from Narrabri. I'm just wondering what the current situation is in relation to the fires in Sussex and their impact on the Woodaree. Worst case scenario, they jump the river.
Yes, certainly. So, as I said, anywhere within the area Nowra South and anywhere on a bushland interface can come under impact. As I said, spot fires can happen 12 kilometres in front of a fire under northwesterly conditions. If you put a line on the map, you will see that the fire can spot directly into and around the Jervis Bay Territory area immediately. So yes, it is under threat. They are all on heightened alert. There is also the threat from the Jervis Bay Territory area from the fire burning to the southwest under the southerly conditions. So everywhere within this area is a potential area under threat.
I live in Hutchinson, and I was following up on a point that was made about the number of people that might come here if worst to worst happens. Is there a chance that the RSL, which was at the last horrible time an emergency centre, is it likely that that will become again?
Not at this point in time. This is the identified evacuation centre for the area. We do have the capacity in here to fit many, lots and lots of people. I won't give you the exact figure, but we're also expecting that not everybody will be evacuated or come to the evacuation centre. I have been asked on radio today, people's bushfire survival plan, and that they're planning to leave and planning to go to an evac centre. An evac centre is not part of your bushfire plan. An evac centre is if you are out of home because the worst occasion happens. That's where you go to get registered, and that's where you go to get congregated and register yourself through with the to make sure you get all the services that are provided for you. It is not to be your place that you go to just be out of the area. Your area needs to be personal. It needs to be something that you assess with your loved ones and your family. 9 times out of 10, it's a family member. It's a friend somewhere away from the fire ground, whether it's local or whether it's up in Sydney or somewhere else out of the bushfire area. Do not rely on an evac centre. Evac centres will only ever be opened up if there's evacuations required or people displaced.
Hi, my name's Marty. I'm just new to the area. Hooray. I'm going to leave because I'm sort of following what you're saying. I'm not ready to, I don't know how to defend. But it might sound like a silly question, but with my gas bottle from a barbecue, you say keep it combustibles away. Should it be surrounded by houses? Where do you put it?
The use of combustible materials around the house, sorry, I think I called that right. By all means, move everything away from the external parts of your house. And when I say combustible materials, 9 times out of 10, that's a wood pile stack against the house, your firewood, whatever it happens to be, lawn clippings, mulches especially. Mulches are one of the biggest causes of some house fires that we see. They get fire in them, they smoulder for many hours, and eventually they can catch your house alight. So again, simple things like wetting down your gardens, making sure that's prepared, raking mulches away from the external out surfaces of your buildings, making sure that any combustibles, whether it's a gas cylinder or a timber pole and like that, is moved well and truly away from your house, is again an added thing that will help protect your house and help firefighters protect your house.
Would you take the gas bottle in your car to wherever you evacuate?
No. It's a $30 item, leave it at home, but move it away from the house.
My name is Kevin. I'm retired from the television industry and I've dealt a lot with the New South Wales Police. So I'd like to address this question to Inspector Raystein. Inspector, in the preparation for this unfortunate time we're going through, can you tell me and the people here whether any provisions have been made with the local medical centres to open in the unfortunate circumstance that the road is closed and the Army healers can't use their radar to get into an evacuation centre to take people out?
Yeah, in relation to the welfare of any injured people that have been impacted from this fire, New South Wales Ambulance are well and truly versed in relation to what they can and can't do. There will be medical at the evacuation centres to a certain point. And we have search and rescue helicopters with capability to get in and get people out if required.
That answers the question.
Further to that, and as part of the bushfire survival plan, we ask for people to be self-sufficient with their medications too. One of the big questions we get asked, and it's pretty disheartening within a 24-hour period that somebody's run out of essential medication. Please, part of your prior preparation and planning, make sure you've got enough of that medication to last you probably a week.
Hi, my name's Chloe. I've had several people come to me today saying that they don't know people that can help them get out of town and they'd like to leave and head up to Wollongong and Sydney to try and find somewhere to stay. Are you aware of anything other than buses and trains that is functioning to get people who don't have a means of transport? For instance, I just spoke to one mum whose husband is stuck down south of the highway and she can't get north, she doesn't have a car. So is there anything functioning, and do you know if this will affect the train and railway network of people who are wanting to get the train from Bomaderry?
Okay, so in relation to public transport, at this point in time, the public transport system will work as normal as long as the roadways are open. The use of the train facility, obviously our line finishes at Bomaderry, and at this point in time, Bomaderry is not under impact. If the fire does happen to move, or a fire happen to move across any of the railway's infrastructure, necessitating its closure, then yes, it will affect that area. But we will make other arrangements, obviously, as soon as possible to have buses and the likes put in place. Certainly all of our bus companies and the tourism operators are certainly well and truly aware of the fires in and around the area, and they've all been dialed in for their use for everything from moving our firefighters around in between their accommodation and the various staging areas through to actually being on point by Transport New South Wales should mass movements be required.
Hi, my name's Kate, I'm a local GP in the area, so just to revisit the question about local medical centres, I have 3 clinics in the Main Basin area, and what we're going to be doing on the weekend is our sanctuary point practice just over the road over here. I will be there and I'll be available to take phone advice, to give phone advice and to do basic GP kind of things that I can do. The idea being that people who might never get on the road and drive to Shoalhaven Hospital, maybe not going to be a good thing to do. So I'm very happy to help. If anyone needs to have anything looked at or done or need advice on stopping your tablets or whatever that might be. So I'll be there on the weekend. In the event that the comments go down, I'll be there from 9 o'clock on Saturday with myself, a nurse and a couple other doctors who are local. If it's an emergency, call 000, absolutely. But if it's and it's going to go into town,
That's what makes Australia great. Honestly, thank you very much for that offer. If I can get you to liaise with Ray after this, we'll get you details and we'll actually log that down, so thank you.
Hi Mark, how are you? Steve from Sanctuary Point. It mentions in this brochure about leaving and leaving early, and to tell you the truth, you make the point earlier about having your property properly prepared. Now, can you just touch base on what that means for a lot of us local residents in regards to preparing the roof and gutters, preparing loose litter and all of that, and that if we haven't taken the time to do it, because we've been busy or whatever, are you recommending that we do leave because we haven't done it, or if it's not able to be done tomorrow? And if we do decide to leave, roughly how long can we expect before we're able to get back into this area? Is it a week? Is it...
Okay, so to answer that question in a couple of ways. Firstly, if you're not prepared at the moment, you're fast running out of time. As I said, from this afternoon onwards, we want people to start enacting if they're choosing to leave the area. As soon as those roadways are open to the destination you need to get into, that's where we're pushing and asking and requesting you to actually do. In relation to how you can prepare your house, I think I've already covered that today with the various means to protect yourself. But in relation to how long it can be before you can return to your area, that's how long is a piece of string. It's dependent on how hard the fire comes through the area. As for the expected duration or warning system that you can get, or should you leave, if you're asking yourself that question now, you're also answering that same question. If you are in any doubt of your ability to withstand having to stay at home and defend your home and defend yourself in your residence, you've already answered your question, and my advice is get out.
Hi, my name's Phil. If the fire starts on the eastern side of the Pacific Highway towards Basin, St George's Basin, will we find out how, will there be a siren or anything like that to warn us?
Okay, so in relation to warnings, we've all seen those warnings that go out. We've seen the watch and acts that go up on the program. We've also heard the radio announcements that go out on the ABC and the likes. We will give you as much warning as we practically can. With the amount of fire that is on the landscape, do not rely on a warning for your area. It is specifically or practically impossible for us to give you a specific time frame before impact. It could be a spot fire that lands well within or close to a community, and we may not be able to turn around and say, you've got time to get out, now's the time to get out. The first message you get may well be shelter in place. The first indication you get may well be there's fire coming towards you and you haven't even received that warning. We are using technology. Technology does have flaws. Power systems go down. All those things can occur and do occur. So please don't just rely on us to give you that warning. We certainly will do our very best. We have got a very good record of being able to do that this year, and we're hopeful to continue with that, but it is not a guarantee.
Yeah, Mark, just a quick question, Kieran here. For local residents and such, how long will council services such as garbage, especially when we're trying to clean up, be running? Do you have any indication, or are you aware of that? For example, we're doing garbage pickup tonight.
Okay, so council services will not be impacted in any areas where roadways are still open or their refuse systems are still open. Obviously, if a refuse area or a tip area gets impacted by fire, that may have some impact. Likewise, with water systems, sewage systems and the likes of that, they may well be impacted by the fire should pumping stations or like that be affected, or if the power goes out to those areas. We do have very, very numerous amounts of generator systems and backups that to go into such facilities should they get impacted. But again, there is no specific answer I can give you for that particular thing.
What's the water system going through? How are you going to do the water system?
The warning system, as I said, is at this point in time, everything from the use of the fires near MEA, the watch and act, the fact we put emergency alerts out through the phone system, through your mobile phone system, and also your landline system. Where you can also break into, if absolutely highly urgent and we get sufficient notification, to the SU system, which will also come across TVs. The one thing that they all have in common, technology. They all have the fact that they require all those telecommunication systems to be up and running. So the other warning systems that we can use, and we will use, is the firefighters and emergency services on the ground. And I also implore on everybody, if you get instructed from firefighters or police on the ground or any other emergency service, adhere to their advice. They've got the real-time information in your locality.
Hi, I'm Linda Under. About 25 to 30 people live on here. On the road, I don't think that I don't be kind enough. But I must say about the fire, I need to put the dust for you talk on TV or
Okay, so that question I believe is in relation to obviously hearing impaired people being able to get the broadcasts and the warnings through, and it is a good point. We will try and broadcast those items via our Facebook pages and the social media sites in print form to allow that to occur. But it's a good point. We'll put a bit of additional focus on that, but hence why we have a sign interpreter at all these briefings also. Okay, we might take one or two more, but again, I offer anybody who has a specific issue to come up afterwards. Ray, myself, and the rest of the team that are here today are more than happy to hang around and take questions one-on-one.
Just a quick one. Can we use Frank's drawing for all our pets and everything? Because you're not going to bring them all into buff. This is my pet center. Can we use the oval as another one for all pets?
Okay, so in relation to pets at evacuation centres, they are able to come in here, and as the evacuation centres open, they will give you specific advice, and they will do the overflow if need be to other areas. So use the main evacuation centres as they are open and as you come through to register.
Perhaps, please, a few pointers on shelter in place. I'm sure a lot of people would be unsure as to what that best way to do that.
Yeah, certainly. All I can say is if you are choosing to shelter in place, as I mentioned before, you need to be mentally and physically able and willing to do so and prepared to do so. It is a harrowing event. It is quite horrific in these very, very unsure and catastrophic conditions that we can expect, and people need to be prepared for that. Prepared for that means not only having your property prepared, as we've also talked about today, but also having yourself prepared, such as the clothing you wear, and having your systems available, such as hoses, and knowing what you're going to do within the confines of your house, having your windows shut, doors under gaps blocked, wet towels, bars full of water, all those sort of things, and sheltering in place until the fire front moves through. You will hear the fire front coming, and you will hear it leave the area. It will go a lot quieter after it's moved through, after which time, if it's safe to do so, you can exit the building and then put out spot fires in and around your house with the measures that you've got in place. But again, being mentally prepared is the utmost event out of all of it. The last thing we can afford to do is have people on the road at the last minute who change their mind.
Question here. Relating to what Linda said before about there's a deaf community in Sanctuary Point. There are a lot of deaf people in the community here. And just like this meeting tonight, what happened? We arrived here, and then when we arrived, we didn't even have an interpreter that was booked. And can you just please make sure and be aware that we need to have an interpreter in real time during these meetings, because it's really important that we get the information as well. Yeah, absolutely.
Good point, taken on notice, thank you. They may be safer at your location from where they currently are. Without knowing the specific details, I can't effectively answer that question. In relation to where you are, again, it's a self-assessment question where you need to say if you believe that you're safe where you are. If that's the case, as I said, they may be safer in your location, or conversely, you may all wish to get out of that area entirely and into a safer location again.
Hi Mark, it's Mary. You guys are doing such a good job. What can we do for you guys? Water, biscuits, food? What can we do for our stations around?
As I've said before in a couple of other meetings, the best thing you can possibly do is give a firefighter a pat on the back. That is all that they need, and it is all that they would really like and appreciate for them to come back again. Honestly, through the RFS, through the systems that we've got with the state government, federal funding and the likes, we provide everything we possibly can that they need. It is truly appreciated the amount of generosity that is being shown throughout our community. It makes me humbly proud to be a member of this community, and it is an absolutely outstanding show of the dedication of people to the community and just the Australian spirit in times like this. But again, unfortunately, a lot of the time we can't take foodstuffs if we don't know where they have come from. We need to know that they're pre-packaged, that their ingredients and the likes of that, because we have a lot of members of our services who may have dietary requirements. So as nice as it is, sometimes I probably say don't waste your time, even though it is really well appreciated. Things like bottled water, well and truly appreciated to firefighters that are out on the ground, but again, we try and supply that wherever possible to everybody out there. But again, a simple thanks to everybody out there. We'll certainly bring them back again and encourage them to keep going.
For all those people who understand defend their homes, the situation at our place is we'll be parking our cars at the rear of the house because that's the largest block the cars will be safe. Now, do you require any identification on the road that you can identify where people will be standing and defending, or that's not necessary?
At the present time, there's no Australian standard or national standard for that sort of stuff. We have seen different localities use other ingenious ideas like putting a yellow bin out the front if you're staying where you're going. But with that comes a little bit of uncertainty. Exactly is it because you're staying, or is it because you're going, or is it because it's been on? So with that, because there is no standard, I've also heard of other people tying a red ribbon around their letterbox, if they've got a letterbox. So there's so many different variables. I'd honestly say our firefighting crews, when they arrive at a location to help you defend or assess a location, the first thing they will do is be knocking on the door and meeting and greeting with you anyway. Likewise, they will be also walking around your premises to look for things such as risks to the area, risks to themselves, risks to yourself, and also if there's any usable water in the area. Okay, last one.
G'day. If the communications do go down, what channel, and is there a UHF channel that we can use?
Okay, in relation to communications with the emergency services, we don't usually use UHCB channels. Some brigades may use them independently between themselves on that particular truck, but it'll just be for communications between those individual firefighters. Our communications back to the control centre or to the divisional commanders are all on our service-specific radios. A lot of those are encrypted radios for obvious reasons, so we can ensure the validity of the messages that go across them. So there isn't one channel that you can scan or use. By all means, it's the local community amongst your own street. If you've got a number of radios, decide that amongst yourselves about what channel to be on. All right, so we'll finish it up there. Thank you very, very much for attending and showing great interest. Once again, rest assured we're doing everything practically possible to keep this fire as small as possible and not affect the communities. But please be prepared, and if you're going to act now, and we'll be here for the next half an hour or so. Thanks very much.